Hey everybody, I wanted to get back in here before the end of the week and give you an answer video. This is typically how I deal with questions, your research questions that you're given every week. I just wait until right before or right after the due date for your peer responses and go ahead and give you my answer. I used to go in and respond individually to every single answer, but then I found that towards the end of the week, those people that were turning in their assignments late were just copying whatever I said. So now I wait until the end of the week. So I'm just going to go here and give you my answer, and I'm going to show you the support that I would have pulled from the lecture and the reading. So here's your question. Every year at the kickoff of the Super Bowl, you see thousands of flashes as eager fans attempt to photograph the start of the game from the stands. Why do you think these fans use flash? What will their images look like and why? What would you do differently? And so, of course, the common sense answer for this is, well, those flashes are going to do very little if you're standing up in the stands and you're trying to photograph what's going on hundreds of feet below you in the field. Okay, so I don't know if it's hundreds of feet. I don't spend a whole lot of time in stadiums, but I know it's really far away. But why? What will their images look like? Well, they're going to look like they're just regular shots that have no benefit of added light of some athletic events at a distance, unless they have a really sweet telephoto lens, which they probably don't. And what would you do differently? I would not use my flash. Okay, so now let me support my answer. Okay, hold on, I pause this and I pull up a different page. So, okay, here in your lecture is lots of information and a sweet little movie about the inverse square law. So let's play just a bit of this.
Light reduces dramatically as the distance from its source increases. Therefore, a relatively low power source is effective for only a short distance. Look at the two snapshots taken with a point-and-shoot camera using its tiny on-camera flash. You will notice that the light from the flash falls off or reduces dramatically, typically after only 5 or 6 feet.
Okay, so that's all I would have showed you. Just based on that little graphic alone, we can see, please, sir, how much less light we have just a few feet away from our on-camera flash. And, at the Super Bowl, most people are just using a point and shoot or like a prosumer DSLR maybe. And that flash is typically not very powerful. Even if they have a very powerful on-camera or added, rather, speed light, one of the speed lights that you can put on your hot shoe, that light isn't going to be powerful enough to fight the inverse square law and illuminate a subject matter that's hundreds of feet away, or even dozens, doesn't matter. It's still not going to do it. Based on this beautiful graphic right here. And we can see how quickly the power of our light falls away as our subject matter gets further away from the light source. Okay, next I will show you where okay, so in my citations I would have said, I would have said AII online lecture PH 136 week 1 section called distance and light intensity. That would have been my support. And then the other thing that will support your answer, or my answer in this case, is from the text. Here I just have lassoed the text from the digital bookshelf. Our text, of course, is Light, Science, and Magic. I have a hard copy of it somewhere. Here it is. Yeah, Light, Science, and Magic by Hunter, Biver, and Fuqua. And I would have cited this page, page 37. In the chapter called The Management of the Family of Angles, down here, the inverse square law. Just a nice explanation here of the same sort of thing, that the intensity of a light decreases drastically as the light source distances itself from the subject. So, the implication then is the further away your on-camera flash is from your subject matter, the poorer job that light is going to do illuminating your subject matter. So all those people that are firing those flashes at the beginning of the football game are not benefiting at all from their flash firing. They're just actually adding a lot of atmospherical perspective in, interference to other people's photographs is really what they're doing. What would I do differently? Well, I would probably compensate with, if I was standing far enough away, I think I could compensate with a wide open aperture, because remember, the further we are away from our subject matter, the deeper our depth of field is. And so I can actually use a wide open aperture and not worry too much about having a narrow depth of field. You know, I could open my aperture probably all the way up to like f4 and still have a pretty deep depth of field, assuming that my subject matter is, say, 60 feet or more away from me. I'm going to have a pretty deep depth of field. I want to freeze action, right? Because I'm shooting, oh, somebody just walked into my office and scared the crap out of me. Hold on. I am so sorry about that. Okay, cleared up that incident. So again, I'm going to be shooting an athletic event. I want to freeze action, and even though my subject matter is pretty far away from me, so the relative speed is a little bit slower, I'm going to want to shoot at a shutter speed of, say, at least like 1/25th of a second, 1/125th of a second, or faster. So I'm really going to try to compensate with my aperture in this case. And also, you know, with my particular camera model, I don't like to compensate with a high ISO, because my camera, in my opinion, does not yield very high quality images at ISOs higher than 640, really. Okay, and that's my answer. I wouldn't use my flash. I would compensate with my aperture. So for, just to go over one more time, for all of your answers for the rest of this class, please make sure that your answers are at least 150 of your own words in length. And then in addition, you are required to quote the text. That means pull something from the text and put it in quotation marks and embed it in your otherwise 150 word length answer. The quotes, whatever you pull from the text doesn't count towards your 150 word length minimum, but it's very important that you quote the text. We give you this text because we think it's fantastic and it's really important tool to use. We don't test you in this class, and so that we know you are using the literature to enrich your learning experience, the way that we check this is to make sure that you are appropriately quoting the text in your answers. We also require that you cite the lecture someplace. Every question that I give you every week is going to have supportive material embedded in both the text and the lecture, so I want you to cite both sources. Again, I expect you to quote the text and actually embed that quote in your answer, and then also cite the lecture. When you quote the text, follow that quotation by, in parentheses, the first author's last name, which is Hunter in this case, comma, and then the page number that you pulled from. So I would have quoted something in here about the inverse square law, and then I would have followed it by parentheses, Hunter, comma, page 37. That's fine. And then when you cite the lecture, please tell us the section of the lecture. We want the week and the section of the lecture that you're pulling from. Because, you know, in every single week, you can pull from previous week's lectures to support your answer. That's fine and recommended. So make sure that when you cite the lecture, you're telling us what week you're pulling from and what section of that week you're pulling from. I hope that makes sense. And then, of course, for every question, we expect you to get back in and respond to two of your peers in a thoughtful way. So bring up a new point, ask a question, offer clarification, and make sure that your response is 50 words in length minimum. I hope that makes sense, and I hope that everybody has an opportunity to listen to and watch this video. Okay, thank you. Oh, also, one last thing. Please do make sure that when you are writing out your answers that you do spell and grammar check them. I personally like to just write everything up in Word and then cut and paste it over into the discussion forum. I'm not a big fan of people attaching Word documents for their answers because it's just one extra step for all of us to have to download an additional document. I'd prefer it just be embedded into the discussion forum, but I do want it to be spell and grammar checked. So use Word as a tool for that, okay? Thank you.